Hey guys, we're here with Turn Back the Clock, episode number 11. I'm joined, as always, by my friend Dylan from Double D Vintage Baseball Cards. Good evening. How you doing, Dylan?
Very good. I love that we both did that. We did
Yeah,
not talk about that.
that was not planned.
I'm
Nothing's
coming for
planned.
the
We just
11.
wing it.
So good.
We're here.
Glad
We're
you're
here. We're back. We're for another episode. In this one, this is going to be a fun one. They're all fun, but this one's going to might be some spicy hot takes on this one. Nothing personal, but we have some strong opinions on a very specific topic which is PSA, a company called PSA, and a thing called sports card grading. And the bulk of this episode, we're gonna talk mainly about PSA and card grading, thoughts, opinions, some recent videos that got us thinking and that led to this episode here. We were going to talk about something different tonight, but I changed course today. I said, you know what? Let's shelve that for a future episode. Let's talk PSA because it's on my mind. But before we get to that, we're going to show, as always, we show a few pickups. Dylan, you want to go first with the pickups?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. All right. So I got some really fun pickups, and I got some questionable judgment pickups as well, which is kind of funny. When you're buying cards sometimes, or me anyways, like when I go on eBay, I literally, it's like me going to the card shop, and a lot of the times I'll have like a minute to decide because I'll just be like, pop on, and then randomly, oh my gosh, that card's insane. Do I have time to look up comps, or do I even want to look up comps? No, sometimes, and I just like go, well, this is what it's worth to me. So I got a card like that. And then I have another card where I was like, oh man, I've been watching so many, and I put a huge bid in on a card that I really wanted, and I missed it by like $300. And so I just like went hunting for that card after that, like full blown. And then I was putting aggressive bids in, or I guess non-aggressive, more like shot in the dark bids at all these cards. And I got one. But then I was like second guessing myself. But anyways, I'll show those, talk about them just a little bit. Let's see. Where do we start? Okay, we'll start right here with an easy one. This was awesome pickup right here. I'll tag where I bought this card. At the moment, it eludes me. But I got this Shane Shoebox Legends showed this card. And it's made by a guy on YouTube. And that is the original from 1975 Manco set, and then this is the clear version, which is awesome looking in the flesh. So I had to get that one.
Easy. How do you pronounce his name? What is it?
Oh yeah, I didn't even say the guy's name. Sadahara O.
Okay.
Maybe more home runs than anyone in baseball history. So maybe him and Josh Gibson.
And by the way, that Menko set I learned about recently on a 3-and-3 with Zach's Vintage Cards. He showed he mentioned a Jackie Robinson Menko card that.
Yes, he did.
Yeah, well, yeah. I was like, whoa.
Yeah, the Menko set's awesome. I saw that. I saw your episode, and I was like, yeah, Menko is sick. They're like, I love those cards. All right, I got another pickup here. I watched the documentary on Netflix on Reggie Jackson. And of course, I'm going to go on there and buy a Reggie Jackson card. And you guys know I have an obsession with his rookie card. I mean, this to me is everything that a baseball card should be. I don't know why, but since I was a kid, this was untouchable. Love this card. And this one is so well centered, and the image is really good. I hunted for this after the documentary, okay? And I've got like 8, I think, Reggie Jackson rookie cards now, all graded 5s and 6s.
And might I add, that one looks fantastic in the CSG holder with the color match with the yellow and the yellow. Looks great.
Yeah, and it's crystal clear. Yeah, I'm really stoked on it. So I got to sell some of those at the Nationals, some of the off-center stuff. All right, so here's let me show you guys these guys. These guys are gonna laugh. This one. All right, so I really am digging modern cards right now. It's kind of like, for me, baseball cards. Let me see if I can turn the light down a little bit. It's a little bright, a little aggressive. There we go.
By the way, that's my nephew's favorite baseball player, Paul Goldschmidt.
Yes, Paul Goldschmidt, rookie card, diamond anniversary, PSA 9. And then I also got his Cognate version. Um, the reason I'm getting these cards is simply they're not that expensive. He has an incredible season, and it keeps me in the present of baseball. Keeps me wanting to watch baseball, watch the stats. It's like time travel, but forward. And I want them to become worth more money in the future. So I'm really enjoying it. Now here's a card right here. You guys are gonna laugh at this one. This is a Wander Franco that I just picked up. This is a mini, and his jersey number is 5, and this one's numbered out of 5. There we go. I mean, this is not like me. If you guys know me, this is so unlike me to get involved in like the hype and like buy it. But you know what? In all reality, most cards, even Otani's, have not skyrocketed this season. Even as good as Wander Franco is playing and Shohei Otani are playing, they're not. The cards aren't skyrocketing like they did during the pandemic. They're moving up like 4% or 10%. So I'm taking advantage of it and buying cards. The guys are playing great, and Wander Franco, I think he is going to be one of the greatest baseball players in this moment. I personally think at least fun to watch. So I bought one card. It's my only card I own, minus some that I have ungraded that I pulled from packs. And it's numbered out of 5, numbered out of his jersey number. I paid $300 for it. I overpaid by $100. The guy who bought the card originally bought it for $200 a couple months earlier. That's the one I didn't look up comps, but I don't care. I love it. I'm so stoked. Like, it is what it is. Here's the big money card.
Oh man. Woo.
I got the Reggie.
Oh my God. Look at that. That's an all-time card right there.
Yeah. This is the first autograph card in a pack, I believe. Inserted in packs is the Upper Deck 1990 Reggie Jackson Heroes autograph card. And here's how you know they're real. When you look on the back, the hologram is a diamond. The other ones, I believe, are bases. So you can know if you're buying one ungraded what you're getting. This one is authentic. And it's an auto 10. Now, would I rather have had one that was graded officially and had a number grade, and it was, I don't really care about the autograph grade, but my most important thing on that pickup was the autograph, how it looked, the ink color, and the ink color is really good on that. So, man, those showed up so bad on my screen, it's so hard to show cards off when I don't know what it is, but those are my pickups. Boom.
I can see them pretty good. You'll have to show those on your own channel too in a future video, like especially the Reggie card. You should do a video just on the Reggie card, like a separate video.
It would be good.
Because that is a very important key card in the hobby. It really is. Whether it gets the recognition it deserves or not. That is that was a groundbreaking card. Absolutely.
So before you move on, that card, that purchase, I had been watching it for a while, and Hugo mentioned it, and then also brought it back to the service. And I watched the documentary, and I collect those Heroes autographs. So I had missed out on one of his that was the card was graded a 9, but then the autograph was authentic, and I missed that. It went for like $700 something. So right after that, I missed it because I bid like 5 something, which is kind of the going rate, and I made an offer on this card that was, I think I got it for $500 or $550, and I made an offer. The guy wanted way more, but I don't know that I really am stoked on the authentic. And then the autograph 10, I'd rather maybe the opposite. I don't know. I'm still out to be determined, but I'm trying to get all of them. I'm trying to get the Hank Aaron, Ted Williams, the Nolan Ryan. I have the Johnny Bench and Joe Morgan. So I'm going to get all of them. It's just a matter of me being patient, not jumping the gun and watching a documentary and getting all excited. I should have been more patient with the Reggie, but oh well, I got it now.
You got it now. You know what I mean? And I'm actually someone who because on those type of cards, the card, we're going to talk grading in this episode, but the grade on those cards is kind of meaningless to me, right? It's authentic as long as it's authentic. I'm fine with an authentic on the auto, especially if you could save some money. Because who cares if it's a 10-10, of course, it's a premium, but even, at a certain point, it doesn't really matter what the grade is because it's all about the auto on that card, really, in that it's authentic. So
yeah, I agree. But my mind has to make my mind. You have to come up with your own, like, you have to be okay with it, right? And I'm still like, I don't know. Yeah, I'm still struggling with the cards authentic and the autographs at 10. I'm almost like, do I need a grade number? What an idiot, right? Whatever.
You'll probably get another one at some point.
Oh, yeah.
All right.
All right, Adam. Let's see what you got.
Let me go solo here. I got 4 pickups. This one technically is this was a card I got graded. I show this one first because when we're recording this, my Celtics just won Game 6 on the road in Philadelphia, and they've forced a Game 7. Huge win. So I figured I'd show a Larry Bird card that I got back pretty recently from SGC. And this is check out the jumbo patch on this card. This is a Larry Bird 2004 exquisite collection, numbered to 25, SGC 9, with a huge jumbo game used patch of Larry Bird. Myself, awesome. Yeah. So this was I pretty much what I've decided I'm doing with my graded cards is I'm pretty much going PSA for just about everything other than cards like these. Like I like how the thicker memorabilia cards look in the SGC holders, and I like how they grade them. I feel like they grade them a little more fairly and so forth. So I've decided when I grade cards like this, I'm going to go SGC.
And is that one numbered?
Yeah, it's number 3 out of 25.
And that's the greatest thing about SGC is they put the number of the card on the label.
Yep.
I mean, that I don't know how PSA doesn't do that. I do that on my own grading. You put the number of it on the label.
Right. Yeah, I like that. Yep. So just a great looking card there. And then, I realized I was missing some key Mickey Mantle Playing Days combo leaders cards. So yes. I picked up this one here, 1963 batting leaders, PSA 6. Didn't have this one. It just kind of slipped by, and I figured I needed it in my collection. So got this one here. And I know a lot of people don't like the floating heads. I love the floating heads. I love the design of this card. Love the floating heads. So just my opinion there. But
you know me, I'm obsessed with those floating heads, and we won't break the cat out of the bag, but we're gonna have some floating heads. Cool card coming up at some point.
Yeah.
Talk about that later,
but 2 more real quick. Got a nice shiny 99 Pedro Martinez Topps Chrome all etch refractor. Very, very cool looking card. Shiny. Look at that. Boom. And PSA 10 on this one. And then I got my last one here is 2002 Topps Chrome cool insert set. Own the Game. Tom Brady PSA 10 here. So just a cool looking design on this card. So got that one here. And that's it for my pickups.
Awesome.
For this week. All right. So the meat and potatoes here of the episode, we're going to talk PSA, card grading. Now, before we get into that, I just want to preface this with, I know you have a huge collection. You have, I don't know, probably, I mean, how many cards would you say you have in your collection total? Oh, like 100,000 or like how many?
Mean, are you talking graded or ungraded? I'll give you
total.
Yeah, I mean,
you don't have
40,000.
40,000. Okay.
40,000.
So the bulk of those would obviously be raw cards, ungraded, unslabbed cards. Now with me, I am pretty much exclusively now at this point a graded card collector. I like slabs. I like the cards. It just fits the way I want to collect right now. I have nothing against people who don't grade cards or don't collect slab cards. It's all fine with me. It's just another way to collect. But me, I have about 500 graded cards, slabbed cards, and that's it. All the raw cards that I have, I've either given away or I got a few boxes that I'll eventually give away, or maybe I'll sell or whatever. But my plan moving forward is I just want consistency. There's a lot of people, the mind of a collector. You want to have all your cards a certain way, whether you like them all in one touches, if you don't do graded cards or top loaders or whatever. I just like my cards in slabs. I just like them like this. I like the way they look. I like the label on them. I like the way it describes the card. I just like everything about slab cards, and that's basically what I collect exclusively. So clearly, I'm going to be, I guess, biased, right? Like my opinion on PSA and card grading, and if it's good for the hobby. I personally really like graded cards. That's why I collect them at this point, pretty much exclusively. So I just wanted to throw that out there first. You're a little different. You have, you're more of a wide variety collector. You have pretty much everything, some of everything. Me, I'm just only graded cards. So take that with a grain of salt when you hear some of the opinions in this. But everything's not going to be roses, though. I have some criticisms too for card grading and PSA that I want to mention, as well as some positive aspects. But I want to throw it to you first. Do you go anywhere you want with this? How we arrived at this topic, or anything you want to say, and then I'll jump in after that.
All right, this is great. Well, okay, so first and foremost, how we arrived to coming to this topic was I had watched a video on Theo Clemente, card collector. He's a friend of ours. Adam had on our show recently for a couple episodes. I'm on a text thread with him with multiple friends in the hobby. And he made a video, I guess you call it a video rant about PSA. And that was based off a video from, do you remember the guy's name?
Yeah, the channel I watch, Midlife Crisis Cards, I believe.
Midlife Crisis Cards.
Yes.
Okay. So it was based off of his video of a PSA submission that he did, where he got grades that he did not think were correct. So he thought his grades that he got back, he got like a 2 back from that was a Pee Wee Reese that looked stunning, and it came back as a 2. He thought it was going to be a 4 or a 5. So Theo's video was the one I watched. I also watched Midlife Crisis Cards video as well later. But I watched Theo's and I texted Adam and I go, oh man, I go, dude, this is awesome video right here. You got to watch this. It's really fun to get Theo's take on this. And then he's like, dude, we should talk about the PSA thing, because we all have different opinions about it. And I happened to get a PSA order back this last week, and it was 21 cards, and 20 of them were the exact same. They're all Ohtani rookies from 2018, or what is it? Yeah, 2018 Bowman right here. And I sent these off. So it was such a perfect topic and how it came up. And just like the thoughts of Theo's were that you should never send your cards to PSA because they're way too strict and they're all over the place. Okay, well, I don't want to put words in Theo's mouth. Let me just make a caveat right now. This is all our own opinions. This is my opinions. This is Adam's opinions. And this isn't a rant or talking negative on a fellow friend's or any person's video. This is our opinions, and this is watching their videos and forming our own opinions over the years on these grading companies, and specifically PSA, and our experiences in them. And I don't want anyone to think that I'm knocking Theo's video or Midlife Crisis's videos or anyone's videos. This is just like, hey, this is a good topic. It makes sense. So I happened to send in 21 cards to PSA. And one was a vintage Ricky Henderson card, which actually came back want to put it on solo really fast?
Yep.
So this one right here came back as mid-size or minimum size. I didn't know. It was my first time ever doing a PSA solo send-off, just myself, without me sending it to somebody else or a company. So this thing came back, and I graded this a 9, and it was cherry. So I think it still looks like a 9, and I think it still would be if it wasn't minimum size. What's funny is I bought this card for 10 cents. This is a $1 card. Bought this for $1 at my local card shop this week, and I checked the sizes, okay? And this card is actually bigger than this card. So it blew my mind. So PSA is not perfect. And there's no way, I've had this card in my collection forever. There's no way that someone trimmed this card. There's no way that someone would have ever trimmed this card. This card was worth nothing 2 years ago. This card was worth $2 2 years ago, guaranteed. been in my collection for a long time, but it was worth nothing. Now, if you get it graded in a 9, you're like $50. So I'm like, yeah, it's worth getting graded. It's a beautiful card. It's one of my favorite cards of Ricky Henderson. But since I got this the other day for $1 and I matched them, so there's definitely things wrong with the system, but I respect the system of PSAs because you know what? Boom, this is what they gave it. I'm going to send this to SGC. It's worth $20 for me to try and see what they deem it, because this card that I guarantee as well as not trimmed is in a dollar bin, just like sitting there, and it's got color distortion. No one trimmed this. This is somebody's collection. It's smaller than this one. So it's gonna be fun to see what happens with the PSA thing. But with all that said, I graded all these. So if you want to put me on solo for 1 second, you see these and then more. I just can't grab them all at once. These are all Ohtani rookie cards. I have one stack of PSA 10s that came back, 5 of them. And I texted you, Adam, that I said, I guarantee you that I have 5. I think I might have said 6 because one was a 9.5, so I kind of put that in the middle. But I guaranteed you in a text that I had 5 Gem Mint 10s.
You did.
Before I sent these in, right?
Yep. Yes, you did.
And I said the rest were PSA 9s. And look at this stack right here. You don't want to zoom in. Those are all PSA 9s. The only one I was wrong on was one PSA 8. I got one PSA 8. So I got all the 10s I was expecting and all the 9s I was expecting minus 1. So I was 99% accurate. So first and foremost, to my own horn, I was really pleased with the fact that I graded these cards accurately and consistently. And I used this right here. I used this loop that Orlando showed off. It has a light right here, and it also has another green light. All I did was zoom in on all of the edges and the corners. The surface is very easy to tell if something's wrong with it. I have different lights set up. You just shine it around, just like vintage cards. You can tell if something's wrong with the surface. I think they're only using these at PSA just for the corners and the edges, because you're probably not going to want to stroke this around the surface of cards, even if it's in a sleeve. I don't think you don't need to, unless they need further. If they see something in the light, you can really see the surface by moving a card around. You can see stains, wax stains. You can see different ink colors. But worst case scenario, if they have a question about it, they can use their magnification, however they do it. But I was really proud of myself for grading them, first and foremost. I spent about 1 minute to 2 minutes on each card, like PSA, but I cleaned them with a dry wrap because they had like a smoke. Like they were from the pit, which I had them stored in a vault. If you guys are familiar with the pit, it's been around for like 15 years. 20 years probably. I had cards in there, and I bought these for $1.50 each. All these Ohtani cards were $1.50 each. I had him when he got hurt, and nobody wanted his cards, so I bought a whole bunch of Ohtani cards back then. So these are from that. I never thought I'd actually get them graded, but since joining YouTube and learning about things, I decided, I'm going to take my shot at studying. And what I did is I studied my PSA 9s and 10s that I already have in existence. And I went on PSA's website, and I looked at their criteria for their grading scale. I was really precise, and I was really picky. I pretended like these were not my cards. And I went in, and I looked at all my 9s and 10s, not all of them, but most of them, a lot of them. And I saw that some of the 9s, I will give this, some of the 10s, I had 2 in my whole collection that probably should not be 10s. But I didn't have any 9s that I thought should be 10s. Based off of their grading scale and what they say, and me looking through the scope, which was cool. It was a cool finding, sidetrack. But with these cards, this collection here, I aced it, and I was really happy with PSA because they got every single one exactly how I graded it. Now, this is one time that I've done this, and it was all the same card. I don't know if that makes it even more difficult or less difficult or what have you. I didn't measure centering. I eyeballed centering. It's pretty easy to see centering on cards, and 9s can be off-centered. 10s can be off-centered, and I'm okay with the PSA 10s being off-centered. It's only a minimal they're allowed to be off-centered. At least they show you and they tell you what they're going to be. So the approach to this video and this whole concept was they were upset with the cards that they got back, and Theo was upset that they just grade way too strictly and maybe more just all over the place. Well, for my order, they were exactly what I predicted. I literally to the T. These were all 9s. These were all 10s. If I would have sent them to SGC, I would have had another about 7 9.5s because I graded 7 9.5s, and there was one that was so iffy that I thought could be a 10 or a 9. Now, with PSA, I was hoping that I was going to get more 10s. Don't get me wrong. I wanted them to up these to the 9.5s to a 10, but I didn't think they would be. I thought they would be 9s that they deserved. So, with that said, without going too crazy, because I'll get another thought going shortly, I love PSA. I love their service, and I think they tell you how they grade their cards, and they're very upfront about that on their website. Now, yeah, you can't talk to anyone in the flesh, but I think if you look through your scope, you do your due diligence. These aren't vintage cards that I sent in. I think they are fair, and I'm happy with their service. And I think that people aren't seeing what they should be seeing in the cards that they own that they send off or regrade. They are not looking at them thoroughly enough like a grader, and they're not using the right lighting and or magnification. And yes, there's going to be exceptions to that rule, of course. So give her, that's kind of my 2 cents at the moment. And we can get into why we love grading after that. But there you go. There's my reveal.
I love it. And the larger point on that I take away from that too is, and I've said this before, one of my first videos, I talked about PSA, and, I talked about how they grade the invisible, they factor in the invisible, right? So if you just look at a card with the human eye, you can't see everything they're factoring into their grade. Now, you could argue, should they grade that way or shouldn't they grade that way? You could have opinions different. Like, I don't care about the invisible, right? Like if a card has scratches that you can only see under a loop or a magnification, it doesn't matter to me, right? But I understand why PSA would ding that grade because of that. Should they grade more on eye appeal versus technical grading? Again, all opinions, right? But the fact of the matter is they post their grading standards right on their website, and you do have to factor that in. You have to, it becomes very difficult to kind of say, oh, I don't know why it got this, if you aren't looking at your cards under magnification, because it's a whole different ballgame. And I don't think everyone does that. I know when I first did grading, I didn't know everything that went into it. I didn't know that PSA looks at cards under that type of magnification. And again, eye appeal is completely different from a technical grade. So a card that might look like a 5 grades a 3 or looks like a 6 grades a 4, maybe because of something that the human eye can't see, and PSA is looking at it through that. Now, with your loop there, like you said, I remember when you said you got it because Orlando from A Collector's Dream gave you the loop that he's using, and you bought one. Do you mind sharing what that is? Or we could even put a link to I don't know, or whatever, wherever you bought it or something like that for people that
we can put a link. A link. I don't know. I can't really read the name of it, so
we'll put a link. And we don't get paid.
Loop, but I'll put a link.
It's not an affiliate link, so don't worry. We're not selling loops here, but I just feel like, for people that it becomes hard to, it's tough to complain when you're not looking at your cards under magnification. I never do, right? So, but that's kind of why, like when I send in cards, if I get an 8 that I thought was a 10, I just kind of say, oh, it must be just something that I didn't look at. I can't see with the human eye. So I think that is a huge thing that a lot of people know that, but there are definitely a lot of people that are new to grading and don't fully understand what goes into the actual grade that they give back. So that's a huge factor you got to consider. To the point again, though, I only care about what I can see, right? So that's why I would like vintage cards. You always hear eye appeal. That's what it's all about, right? It's cards that might be a 3 that you think look like a 6 and you save money. But when it comes to submitting cards for grading, yeah, you really gotta look at, like Dylan was saying, you got to look at the unseen with the eye, that you can only see with that loop there, because that.
Well, let me let me jump in really fast.
Yeah.
So it's funny because you say you and me, you only care of what the card actually looks like. I won't go that far. I will go that far with vintage, but modern cards, I know you don't feel this way either.
No, not with,
a 9 and a 10, 8, 9, and 10s, at least 9s and 10s, but 8, 9s, and 10s look literally identical to the naked eye on modern cards. They look identical.
Yes.
There's not big jumps like vintage is it's a different world. So just so we clarify, I know you don't feel that way because you collect 10s a lot.
Oh yeah. And that's a good point. I was talking about eye appeal and stuff like that with vintage cards. Because I believe in Midlife Crisis's card video, I think they were all vintage cards. So that's kind of where that came from. But yeah, 100%. With some modern cards, if they got a border, you can see, that got a 9 because it's off centered or whatever. But to your point, most modern cards, they look the same. An 8 looks like a 10 to the naked eye. So yes, great point there. Let me ask you before we go further on that. Let's first go with why do we like graded cards? Because there's the other thing aside from Theo's video and the video that inspired his video. I've seen a ton of videos and more so even comments on other people's videos from YouTubers and people that watch videos about how grading's a scam and grading has ruined the hobby. And I saw one today, of someone saying they don't understand why people grade their childhood collection. Why would you, like I've done, right? Like I've taken a Larry Bird card that I had from when I was a kid and I sent it into PSA and graded it. It's not worth a lot of money. It's worth $50 or whatever, but they don't understand why do I grade a card like that? And my answer is because I like graded cards. That's what I collect. I like the end product. You could say I'm not a true collector or I'm not a true sports card collector or whatever. Because of that, that's your opinion. That's fine. But for me, the end product is the graded card. That's just the way I collect. There's a lot of people like me out there too. So that's why I grade them. Obviously it preserves the card. All that stuff protects the card, but you could preserve and protect without grading it. But for me, I just like the end product. I don't want to make any excuses. That's just me. So we grade cards. It's not for money, right? I didn't grade my 1990 Larry Bird card because I want to sell it and increase the value of the card. Maybe someday I'll sell it, but it's never going to be worth a lot of money regardless. So I just grade certain cards because I like them that way. I know for some people that's hard to understand, but I'm just being honest. And that's truthfully why I grade certain cards, is just to keep them in a certain consistency. I have all my cards graded in slabs. I've even sent some cards in and I've requested, I'm going to do a video on this someday on why, but I've specifically requested cards not to be graded. I just want them slabbed up and authenticated because I wanted the cards in a slab, and there's a reason why I didn't want to grade on them. It's just because I want them in that form. I like them in slabs. And that's that was a lot there, but what are your thoughts on as far as is grading bad for the hobby? Why would you say it's not bad for the hobby?
Dude, you guys, if anyone out there knows me, I mean, this is the greatest conversation for me because we talked about this too. I mean, to me, you said it perfectly in a text. If there were no graded cards, you wouldn't be collecting cards. Now, everyone out, there is people out there that would really be upset with me saying that, but I agree. And let me tell you why. I love baseball cards. I love commons, ungraded. I love everything about baseball cards. But what I learned from a childhood was cards are worth money. And I learned that because of the Beckett's, and not just Beckett, way pre-Beckett's. I learned that all the way along. I learned what a value of a card is. I learned from my parents what a value of $1 was. Cards were worth something to me since the second I opened a pack. Okay, a Jose Canseco rookie card was $2.50. That's what it was worth. And that plays a huge part in my collecting aspect. If I only collected cards for zero value, then I would even then, I can't even say I definitely go ungraded, because graded cards play a part in the capsulation and the label they put up there. It's beautiful. They look really good. But I love graded cards because it brings a value and it brings a fairness to collecting cards. It could be the very first baseball card I ever purchased in my life, and I'm on the same playing field as the guy who's been collecting for 45 years. I don't have to second guess. I don't have to bring a magnifying glass out. I don't have to ask 500 questions. Is this real? Is this a photocopy? No. I can go on eBay. I can go to the card show and buy a PSA 7, look up comps if you're a comp guy, and purchase that card for the same price that I'm going to purchase the card for. If you've never collected a card in your life. To me, I've said it before, it's the great equalizer. And when I started going full in on vintage is when graded cards happening. And that was around I don't know when that is, but when I started buying graded cards, it was around 97, 98. And it was when I started my eBay. And it was funny because I didn't realize, I thought it through after I saw somebody else did a video and they're saying when they started their eBay. And my eBay says I started in 2001, I think. And I'm like, no. I was selling cards on eBay in high school. I forgot that my eBay account got hacked and I changed eBay. And I literally just clicked. So for me, bring it all the way back. Graded cards to me it got me collecting as an adult. It kept me in the hobby through high school. Before high school, I was still buying ungraded stuff and collecting it. But the second graded stuff came in high school, it was on. Vintage was on because I never was able to buy vintage cards, real high dollar value vintage cards with a peace of mind. So I never did. No one talked to me about cards. No one gave me a schooling on vintage cards, not my local card shop who I walked into every week. No one talked to me. No one was nice to me on that aspect. No one set me down and say, hey, this is what you need to see. Print docs. You need to see this. Whatever. Graded cards are the reason I collect baseball cards to this day. And that I love graded cards. I love it. I love the aspect of they're worth money. They have $1 assigned value to them, give or take. It's just an exciting way to do it. And going back to the PSA slabs and the SGC slabs, the slab in itself, it does not blow my mind when someone wants to grade a card for $20 and it's their personal card from their childhood and it's protected, which is like funny to say, but who cares? Because you could buy a protection sleeve for cheaper. But a one-touch costs about $4, $5 at your local card shop. You buy them online cheaper, but local card shop you're trying to support, a one-touch is $5. This was $10 to get graded in the day, right? In the normal day, $20 now, but you could buy these cards for $5, $10 graded, and you have the label, you have to me, graded cards are just phenomenal. I love the aspect. I don't care if you're upset about this, because the caveat is we all collect our own ways, and let
me ask you. So I hear this a lot that great card grading has made the hobby all about money, and it's ruined the hobby. So for someone who doesn't do grading, doesn't submit cards, doesn't buy graded cards, how does guys like us, who like me particularly, I only deal with graded cards pretty much. I'll buy a raw card if I intend to grade it or whatever. How am I affecting that person? How do I, because they could operate still, I'm not making them collect graded cards, right? Or so how do I have a hard time connecting the dot as far as how is card grading not allowing someone who doesn't want to do anything with card grading to do, to stay in that lane? No one's forcing anyone to grade cards, right? Or am I wrong?
Adam, the exact best question I ever heard. The exact opposite is what people should be talking about. People who collect ungraded cards, raw cards, should be praising the fact that we have graded cards, because raw cards, one Mickey Mantle from 1957, when I was 12 years old, was worth X. You could buy the same Mickey Mantle card for the same price today in a raw version that is dinged up. because of the fact that a PSA 7 is worth so much more. It makes ungraded cards worth less. So a collector who's just collecting ungraded cards should be so stoked, because now they have the option of buying these raw cards for the same price as they would when they were a kid. Because when we were a kid, we weren't taught that cards were supposed to be perfectly centered, perfect eye appeal. No, we would buy a Mickey Mantle in 1950. Say it was just a Mickey Mantle in 1955. We'd in the Beckett, we'd look and be like, this 1955 is worth $300. You could buy a 1955 Mickey Mantle for $300 today because of grading, because you could buy a 1. You could buy an ungraded version, or you could buy a 1 and you can crack it out. You can save money in this hobby today because of grading. You could be crazy and go for the huge 8s and spend all the money in the world the rich people do, but that's not the world that us normal humans play in. We all play in different worlds, but there's a limit to what I would spend on a grade. Like it's ridiculous. For grading is the greatest thing, in my opinion, to ever happen to collecting. If there was no grading, there would be a quarter of the amount of collectors there are today. And how would you tell what a 1956 Topps Ted Williams card was worth? Only if you are so deep entrenched in the hobby would you know what one to pick out. But now with grading, well, I could get a 1 for the same price that I could have got a Ted Williams card for when I was 10 years old. Thank you, grading, because I can get a 1 that looks good. So that's like my 2 cents right there. I wanted to say those words for so long, but it takes a while to like really express yourself on here and like be honest.
Yeah, and I don't think we're saying the grading industry of the hobby, or PSA in particular, are perfect. Far from it. Like first of all, it's impossible to be perfect at this point in time at it. It's a subjective thing. It's an opinion. But I think it's important to have third parties. Now you could say they're biased, or they haven't changed their grading scale, PSA, but maybe they're enforcing it a little differently. So you could debate that all you want. But I think on a negative side, I will say one of the things that I really feel would put at least some of this to bed for PSA would be to offer an option. I've said this before, because I like to at least throw out like potential solutions or whatever, or be somewhat constructive, would be to offer an option, and you could charge more for it, right? So it's not something you have to do, but to offer an option of getting some sort of a report with your grades, right? So, okay, here's why your card got a 3 instead of a 5. And obviously it's more work for the grading companies to do that, but they could charge more. And then for people that want to go on YouTube and say, how the hell did I get these grades? Well, you should have paid for if you should have paid for the report, and then you would have known. And if you did pay for the report, you have your answer. Here's why I got it, because under magnification, you got a stain here or whatever. I think if they did offer that option, and it doesn't have to be like totally like an elaborate 10-page report. It could just be something where you pull the card up on the PSA's website and it shows a couple pictures, or shows some pictures on why it got a certain grade. I think that would be something a lot of people would probably pay for. But at the very least, PSA could free themselves up and say, at least we are giving you the option to pay for some feedback. Because, I mean, think about this. If, let's say there was no card grading, but the idea was out there, right? Like, oh, there's going to be these companies starting up that are going to grade your cards. What would you say if they were saying, yeah, you send us your cards and we just send them back with a number grade with no description, no reason for why it got the grade? We'd probably say, I don't know about that. That sounds kind of crazy. You're not going to give us at least a report. I mean, I think we've kind of gotten used to it, right? And PSA is a monopoly in some form. So I think they don't have to do it. They're grading 1 million cards a month, right? So they don't have to do anything. They're getting the business. But I think long term, if they did come up with that option of, hey, we'll give you some more feedback, you got to pay a little more, it's a higher level or whatever, I think that would probably put some of this stuff to bed. I don't know. What do you think on that?
Well, okay, so real quick, this is Beckett's time. If what you're saying, this is Beckett's time. Like, man, I don't remember his name. Midlife Crisis cards.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, Midlife Crisis cards. His best experiment right now in the world would be crack those things open, send them to Beckett, let them put the subgrades on, let them come back and see what the heck did they see wrong with the cards. I would assume they'd be coming back at, BVG is always 1-2 grades ahead. But you get, I get where you're going with this is Beckett has the subgrades. So that is your, that tells you. So if you get a 1 on surface and you were like, why the heck did this thing, because there's somebody put a pen mark on it, like a dot. They found it. At least it tells you where to look. And the subgrades are cool for that. I don't care about the subgrades. I don't need it. I'm not advocating for them. But that's a great experiment. If somebody would fund that, cut those things out, send them to Beckett. Let's see what they come back. And then you'll have a report of 4 different things, edges, surface, all that stuff that they have the subgrades on. It'd be really fun to see, because how would they grade them versus the PSA? When people send these things to PSA and then they get all butthurt on their grades are coming back, well, to me, I just go, you didn't look at the card properly, because I've been collecting graded cards for 20-something years. Just because I haven't sent a million cards in, I can see differences in cards, even though I didn't see centering like I do now. But I knew what was nice looking and what wasn't looking as far as corners and stuff by the naked eye. So I don't fall prey to the fact that the old PSA slabs are worthless. There is plenty of cards that were graded back in the day that would grade just as high now, if not higher, or whatever. The advocate is like, don't just be stuck on these new PSA slabs. Just because everyone thinks they've gotten harder, they say they have not, and their system says they have not. We could literally be looking at slabs and seeing the new emblem and literally judging them differently. And I find myself doing that. And I don't think I'm alone in that. A new nice looking slab makes the card look better. I have a 7 right here that looks like absolutely unbelievable. And under a microscope, it's a Robin Young old slab. And I have like 4 of these. They're all old slabs, 7s that would definitely be 7s today. Now, yeah, I could crack them open 7s, but that'd be ridiculous. But they look stunning. They look just as good, if not better, than the 7s that I'm trying to buy now. So, all right. Well, that's where I'm at with that.
So doing it this way, it's just a fun way for me to do it. And card grading creates a chase for cards that there would be no chase for me. I'm not someone who only collects the rare and scarce from 100 years ago, right? So I get that. Like, hey, just getting one of those cards, whether it's graded or not, or whatever, like that's a chase, finding one of those cards. One of those Ty Cobbs that there's 4 of in the world, or 5 or 10, whatever. That's a chase, right? There's an inherent chase in those cards. They don't need to be graded there's just few of them out there, right, to find. But for a lot of the cards that I collect, 1980s cards of Larry Bird, there's thousands, hundreds of thousands of them out there that they made. But I can create a fun little world and chase for me by doing grading, by looking for PSA 10s, by trying to grade cards that I think might grade a 10. And it creates more fun for me. Otherwise, I could literally buy all the Larry Bird cards for $1 off of eBay and I'd be done in it. So I think it comes back to, question for you. Do you think there's people out there, whether they're on YouTube or whatever, people in the hobby that don't want to see the hobby grow, that they don't want to see new people come in? They don't want things to change. They want it to actually get smaller. They want the grading companies. Like, do you think there's actually people, everyone says that, like, I want the hobby to grow, but do you think there's actually people that don't want the hobby to grow?
I mean, of course there's people who don't want the hobby to grow, but I think a lot of people want their cards to be worth more money in the future.
Yeah.
I think that would be 90% of us collectors, throwing a random number out there.
I'm going to give a correction. 100%.
Yeah.
100%. I mean, no, because you might not care. But if you were given the choice, do you want your cards to be worth more or less? 100%, given a lie detector test, would say more. Let's face it. Come on.
How about that? And how about this? Let me add this too. There's a lot of collectors out there that collect ungraded stuff and even crap their stuff out and get it and keep it in their collection ungraded. It's awesome that they love that. I don't look down on their collection, and I don't look up on guys who just collect giant 8s and 9s. I don't care. If you're collecting cards, you have your reasons. But I will say this: when they die, when that collector dies, someone's going to get those cards graded. Someone's going to be in charge of getting all those cards that they cracked out or have graded, or have raw. I mean, they're going to get them graded and sell them. So grading is never going anywhere, and to me, it is literally just like it makes your collection like a museum, and it gives it value, and it gives it I don't want to say purpose, but to me it just I love to know what my cards are worth, and to me I can look up exactly what a card's worth and not have to guess like a Beckett, where every 1956 Topps Ted Williams when I was 12 years old was worth $300. Didn't matter if it was folded in half or if it was perfectly sharp. It was worth $300. Only the select guys who were like in the industry who really talked to each other knew that the cards that were in a really good condition were worth more. So grading to me is an awesome thing, and I know it's going to be around forever, and there's zero doubt about it. And all the guys that have their cards that are ungraded, they will probably be graded one day by a future relative, which is funny to think about.
I think the hardest thing for me is understanding where I see way more negative sentiment towards graded card collectors than like graded card collectors looking down on raw card collectors. I see honestly, I see almost none of that. At least the videos I watch and the comments and so forth. I don't see like graded card collectors going like, oh, your cards are crap. They're not even graded or like, but yeah. I see a lot of the other where it's like, there's a lot of other people, let's be honest, that want to make people who are into card grading feel bad or feel like they're doing something stupid or something wrong, or why are you doing the PSA set registry? What's the point? Like, there's a lot of that. And I think that's bad for the hobby. You want to talk what's bad for the hobby? I think it's people that are very judgmental. And I'll just leave it at that.
Dude, well said. I mean, being judgmental as a human is not good, period. I mean,
right.
Nothing good about that. So, Adam, with all that said, I'll give my little caveat. You gave a good one before we were talking and while we're going. Our opinions are based off of our collections, our collecting experience in the hobby. They are entitled to, I'm a curator. I think John Newman said it well. He said something on the aspect of you're the curator of your own museum. You have your own collection to worry about. When you hear other people talking about how their advice and their opinions, you need to run it through your own brain and spit out what you want to accomplish in this hobby. Is it this? Is it that? And all I'm doing is expressing my thoughts and letting you guys know how I feel about my collection and my collecting experience. And there's no wrong way. As long as you're an honest human being, you're not stealing from people. There's no honest way to collect cards and to do it. So I just think that it's fun to express myself and let my thoughts be out in the universe. And so anyone who comments back and is really upset or says the exact opposite, I'm not ready to get into a text battle. I'll probably just like it, heart it, or say, I take your opinion, great. It's going in my brain, run it through my brain. I'm not going to get into text battle with anyone. It's very hard to communicate over texts and or messages. And I'm telling you now, I don't care how you collect your cards. I want to express myself. And I'm telling you how I collect cards. So these are my thoughts. So there's my caveat. Your turn.
We don't care about how you collect cards, but we care about you. And that's a key here, right? Like all these, we talked about Theo's video. We talked about midlife crisis. We talked, I haven't mentioned, but John Mangini's made some videos lately about card grading. And I just watched one before we popped on here about, I can tell John's a little fed up with some things on YouTube and with the hobby. And I was there last week myself. Last week, I my feed was filled with card trimming videos, and making people feel stupid for buying sports cards, and taking personal shots at people, talking about people's families and their wives and making fun of them, and like that. I couldn't get out of it. Like I clicked on a few of them, I watched them, and I just felt bad after. I felt bad about my card collection. I felt bad about the hobby worse than I did before I was in obscurity. When I collected not knowing anyone, I felt better than I did that day. But you know what? I realized that what I needed to do was to talk with people like you again. I think the way out of that is to pop on a StreamYard. It's free. Get on StreamYard. Find one of your friends on YouTube or in the hobby. And even if you don't record it, just pop on there and talk about what you love about sports, what you love about cards, what you love about the players, past memories. And that will take you back. And I personally, I'm telling you, man, I had to scrub my YouTube feed of all, it still keeps hitting me, right? But I'm trying to scrub it of all the crap that's out there. Honestly, the gossip and the just stuff, videos that you think, oh, what's this? They must have cracked the case on this. And you watch the video and you come away with more questions than you had before. There's no definitive answers. There's no proof of anything, making you feel worse about whatever you're doing. And there's a lot of that. But what I want to say is I like and respect all the people of all these channels that we mentioned today, all the videos. I love rants. I love rants that are about like Theo did today, where he went on a rant about PSA. Whether I agree with it or not is not the point. I enjoyed the video because he's expressing his opinion about a company in the hobby, which that's fair game, right? You're not taking shots at like a person. It's not a personal shot. You're calling someone out. Like for me, that's crap. I don't want anything to do with that, and I don't want to watch anything about that stuff because that's not why I'm here. But to criticize a company in the hobby on an opinion, totally fine. And I think that's what a big reason what makes YouTube fun and why I like being on YouTube is those type of videos. Again, whether I completely disagree or not is not even the point. I just like that we're all able to share our opinions about this stuff. You know, whether it's about who's a better player or what the better set is or what the better grading company is or whatever. I love that stuff, and I hope people keep making those because opinions are great, and we all have them. And it doesn't mean if you have a different opinion about PSA than someone else, doesn't mean you can't be great friends, right? Like there's no reason why. So I just want to say that too, because the people are the best part about YouTube, and no matter what happens in the industry or whatever, like nothing can change that. So that's it. Long video. We're right at the hour mark. I could go another hour on this stuff, and maybe we will at some point. But that was all I had. That's all I got on that for now. What about you? You good?
Yeah, I'm good. That was well said, Adam. Appreciate it.
That was good. So really keep the rant videos coming, guys. Though, like about companies and stuff. Like I like those. So and I'll try to make my own here and there. I've done it in the past, so nothing wrong with that. But guys, thanks for watching. Episode 11 in the books of Turn Back the Clock. Dylan, I always enjoy talking with you. Every time I get a chance to do that, I feel better about where I'm at in the hobby, about my collection, and just better about my decision to be on YouTube and have a podcast. So that's what for me that keeps me grounded when I talk with people. When I notice when I go too long without talking with someone like you, I start to get a little negative because I think there's so much of that stuff out there that it can really take you off course. So that's it, guys. Dylan, thanks, man. I appreciate you taking another hour out of your time to talk with me. This makes my week, really. And guys, anyone who watched this long, to watch the whole video, I can't thank you enough. It means so much. So guys, we'll be back with episode 12 in about a couple weeks, maybe even sooner. Dylan, any last words?
No, that was awesome. Thanks, Adam.
Right. Thanks, guys.